State Money Talk. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, joined today by Kevin Dietrich and Joe Dietrich, partners at First Choice Financial Services Incorporated. To our viewers at home, if you've been with us, you're actually watching part 4 of the 4-part series that we started talking about the roadmap to retirement. Well, why do you need a roadmap exactly? You wouldn't be out on a journey without one if you're getting to a destination. We feel that you need one for your retirement planning as well. So a brief recap. First week, we talked about RMDs. Second week, tax planning. Third week, we talked about retirement and income planning. Fourth week, I'm so excited about this, healthcare, life insurance coverage, and estate planning. Why is that important? Well, according to a study by NerdWallet, the average person plans to retire at about the age 62. What? 62? That seems so young. Yeah. Joe, how are you today?
I'm doing well. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Kevin, how are you?
Fantastic. How are you?
So blessed to be with both of you. Thank you for asking. And Alvin, I miss seeing Alvin. Yes. How's Alvin?
Yeah.
He's doing well.
Yep.
Good.
He's back holding the fort.
Yes. Well, he does a great job at that, but we definitely miss him. I know the viewers are going to wonder where he is as well. So, wow. Age 62, I have to talk to you guys. I'm kind of getting close to that. So that means I'm going to be retiring soon. That's amazing when you think about it. So that seems kind of young to me. And what's scary about that is if you decide to retire at 62, correct me if I'm wrong, but people are living longer. So there's longevity risk that you have to look at. What do you do about health care? Joe?
Absolutely. Yeah, like you said, we're living longer. And we think of the average lifespan of an individual, male, female. That includes all the kind of, infant mortality and things that happen, accidents throughout our life. When you get to, or getting close to your retirement age, your longevity is actually longer than that average. And studies have shown that couples that are 65 now, 25% of those are going to have somebody living into their 90s, maybe past 95. So longevity is certainly, if you're retiring at 62, that's over 30 years of retirement.
Wow. That is like a whole different career, if you will. 30 years, like you spend so many years working.
Yes. Yeah.
It's amazing. So when you think about it, healthcare and retirement planning, that is so important for people that are retiring at that age. Kevin, why do you factor that into someone's overall plan?
Well, it's important because, it can be one of the biggest expenses in your retirement is healthcare.
Yes.
Especially if you go into a long-term care facility. That's very expensive. And then, Medicare, of course, is funded by the government and is mandated, and there's rules there. So we have to include that in the planning piece of the retirement. If you retire at 62 and you can't start taking Social Security, Medicare to 65, there's that 3-year gap that we have to plan for.
Exactly.
And so that health insurance has to come from somewhere, and it also has to be paid for. So that's why it's so important to plan for that. If you retire after 65, that's fine. We can get you right into Medicare and the supplements and everything that goes with that. But 62 years of age, that's very early. But that's what we see that every day. We have couples that retire at 60. So we have 5 years to plan for their health care. So it can be challenging.
Outside of the Medicare, and your health at 60, 65 is not going to be the same as your health at 80 and 85. So
that's true.
We want to look at that down the road as well.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah. So Medicare is really the cornerstone, but can we talk about the different parts of Medicare? I believe there's Part A that actually covers hospital insurance. Can we spend some time talking about that?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah.
Part A does cover the hospital insurance, so anything that happens inside the hospital facility is covered under Part A. So that's like some folks refer to that as their major medical coverage.
Okay.
And then Part B is your medical insurance, just like you would have with your current employer. That's anything that happens in the doctor's office, urgent care, those types of areas. Part C is Medicare Advantage, and that's that supplement that comes alongside of your original Medicare, which is Part A and Part B, and then your Part D is for drug plan.
Okay.
And then we also have Medigap plans, which we'll look at here shortly. But that's pretty much wraps up the Medicare.
Yeah.
And I would assume that it's confusing to know what to choose because when people go online to look for information, aren't they overloaded not only with emails, but also things ending up in their mailbox? Like all of these companies start sending things.
Absolutely.
How do you help decipher what's even needed?
Yeah, there's certain criteria we want to look at, whether you're going to be in a local area and you've got a very defined network, if you want to travel, you might want to make some different choices. If you have some immediate health concerns now and maybe have some prescription drugs that are costly, those might be some different choices. So there are some elements that we want to kind of work through to find the right selection for the individual. But like Kevin said, Part A and Part B, those are very standardized. When we get into then, do we need Part C, or like Kevin referenced the Medigap, how do we start filling in the gaps? And Part D is a big part of that, your drug plan.
Yes.
That can be a significant cost increase, particularly as you get older and on more and more prescriptions.
Sure.
Yeah, the Part C, the Medicare Advantage plan, that's where you get a lot of, inundated of material through mailers or emails, and they and celebrities try to endorse them, and so that covers Part A and Part B. Whatever Part A and Part B does not cover, it covers that, and then it also has the drug plan attached to a lot of times as well.
Okay.
So that's where Part C, the Medicare Advantage, comes into play.
Okay.
Yeah, and Advantage plans, they not are all the same. So you're going to need to be diligent in looking at what they cover, what they don't cover, what the deductibles are, what the coinsurance is, what treatments might be covered or not.
Yeah.
Joe, I'm so glad that you brought that up, because there's this misnomer that Medicare actually covers everything that's needed with your health care in the retirement years, but that's not necessarily the case. Talk about that a little bit, because people think, well, I have Medicare that covers everything. I need nothing else, but that's not true.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. It's important to educate yourself before you make these decisions. You want to sit down with somebody who is familiar with them, that can guide you through the important elements in which to make that decision and make sure that it's right for you. Because you're right, people come in and say, well, what do you mean it won't be covered? Part A, if you've worked your 40 credits, there's going to most likely be a zero payment on that, but you're going to have a Part B premium. But that's only going to be a part of what's going to be your health insurance for the rest of your life.
Yeah, typically, the original Medicare, which is Part A and Part B, covers up to 80% of your costs.
Okay.
And then you have to have something that comes alongside, and that's where the Part C comes into play, or the Medigap, which we'll talk about next segment.
Yes, yes.
But then the drug plan is also included in Medicare Advantage as well. If you do not get Part C and you get a Medigap plan, then drug plan is not included. We'll touch on that here shortly.
Okay.
But yeah, there's lots to know about it, and a lot of rules, and what's the premiums, what's their deductibles, what's the co-pays.
Yeah.
It can be overwhelming, and so a lot of folks come into our office with just a lot of questions.
Of course.
And a lot of concerns, and they're overwhelmed because they're just getting inundated with material.
Yes, and I know a lot of viewers at home feel that way too. That's why they watch the show every week, because you give such amazing guidance to people that are entering their retirement years. You make them think about things that they hadn't thought about before, including the importance of proper health care planning.
Yeah, it shouldn't be that hard, but it is very confusing. So what's easy is picking up the phone, calling us, or clicking the QR code and booking an appointment with us, and we could talk about this. That's what's easy.
Absolutely. And Joe, you and Kevin have a very special offer. Let's talk about what that is today.
Absolutely. So we're talking about health insurance, and that's just a part of an overall retirement plan. You need a complete retirement plan that includes a lot of the things we talked about in our prior segments: income, taxes, investments, all of those. So pick up the phone, call the number on the screen, or take out your phone and use the QR code. Somebody will be there to be able to answer your questions and set a time that we can sit down and talk with you. We'd love to talk with you.
Joe, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Kevin, thank you so much. To the viewers at home, the number to call is on your screen. That number is 888-959-2743. If you're entering the retirement years without a plan, this is the perfect opportunity for you to take advantage of the complimentary consultation. We feel that you need to have the roadmap. Just like you wouldn't go on a journey without one, you shouldn't be entering the retirement years on your own either. That number, once again, 888-959-2743, or you can click on the QR code at the bottom corner of your screen. That'll take you right to the landing page, and you can schedule your time accordingly. We're going to take a very short commercial break, but don't forget, if you missed any of the 4-part series, you can grab it on the YouTube channel. So don't forget, check those out. We'll be right back momentarily.
First Choice Financial Services, we're based out of Camp Hill, Pennsylvania. So if you're familiar with Harrisburg, there's a river that splits the mid-state in half. And on the right side is the Harrisburg City, and on the left side is what we call the West Shore. We're based in Camp Hill, Pennsylvania, which is just across the river from Harrisburg.
Everybody that works in our firm just has a heart for other people. My two sons are partners in the corporation. Their wives are very active in the corporation. The rest of the people in the corporation are, all but two, are family.
I wouldn't want a practice that's not family-based or faith-based. If you're a believer, you're a Christian, then you have to live that. It's your life. It's who you are. It's your identity. My identity is in Christ and Christ alone, and I'm not going to waver from that. And why not have that spill over into my business, my practice? It's all over our walls, all over our TV screens, and they can see our heart, and they know, hey, we take care of them, and we love them as individuals, and we care for them and their soul.
When we've sat down with somebody and we've taken time to get to know them and put something into place that's going to really meet their needs, to see the look of relief or the posture change when they walk out of the office feeling confident and a little less worried of the years to come.
Welcome back to Mid-State Money Talk. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, joined today by Joe Dietrich and Kevin Dietrich, partners at First Choice Financial Services Incorporated. And we're talking all about the importance of having a plan for your retirement years. And we've put together this beautiful roadmap on how you can get there with confidence. Gentlemen, I would love to jump into this next segment. And you mentioned this before, Kevin, talking about supplemental insurance such as Medigap.
Right.
What exactly is that?
Yeah, so it's referred to two different ways: Medigap insurance or Medicare supplement policies, and that's policies that come alongside of your original Medicare. And so it could be from any insurance company that's local in our area, Highmark, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Aetna. Any of those could be a supplement policy that just covers anything that the original Medicare does not cover. So there is a premium for that. A lot of times, Part C, there's no premium, but not everything's free. We understand that, right? So there's always costs involved in these things. So the Medigap plan will have a premium in it, and it will be established premium for the rest of your life. And so we look at it from a different perspective. So we choose a plan that best fits your need today when you turn 65, and then also when you're 80, 85, 87, something like that. Is there a huge difference in cost, or does it just gradually increase? Because this is going to increase no matter what. But we look at it from that perspective as well. So they don't typically have deductibles or co-pays, so that's what's good about that. You know that what the cost is going to be going in. So the original Medicare is Part A is free, Part B is there's a premium, and then the Medigap plan there's a premium as well. However, it does not cover Part D, so you have to add a Part D premium plan to that as well.
Okay, all right. And how does long-term care fit into this? Long-term care insurance, would that be something that you could get a supplement for as well? Is that part of Medigap?
It's not part of Medigap.
Okay.
No, long-term care would be its own separate issue. And,
Okay.
and we would need to plan for that as well.
Yes,
That might be,
we do.
I mean, that falls within the health insurance, but that might be a long-term care policy. That may be other strategies in order to fund and protect your assets as you may or may not need to use long-term care. Now, going back to the Medigap and Medicare supplement plans, there's obviously some confusion there too, because we have Part A and Part B, Part C, Part D. When we get into Medigap plans, now we have plans. Plan A, Plan B, Plan G. There's different plans in there, and sometimes that can also add to some confusion.
Sure.
So you want to look at those, and those are a little more standardized, and you can make additional selections as to how much of that gap you want to fill with that premium that you're paying.
Okay.
That's where the confusion comes into play. The average homeowner gets these mailers, and they talk about parts and plans and G's and D's and B's.
Yes.
I mean, it just can be overwhelming.
It is. It's a true alphabet soup.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. So we do, in our workshops, we touch on Medicare, but we really just try to get our folks to come on into the office, and we'll sit down, because every plan has to be developed personally for you.
Yes.
And so this is just part of the planning that we do, but every person's situation is different. So we need to make sure that we're handling it, carefully, assigned, and just for them.
Yeah, and Cynthia, we start all of our interactions with 2 complimentary sessions, and we sit down, and the first one is really to get to know you, to understand your goals, your objectives, your dreams, but also we want to work through things like this that are personal to you. What is your health conditions like? Is there anything in your family that may have a propensity to crop up later, things like that? That all is going to happen during that first interview. And then the second time we sit down, we're going to really start kind of unveiling what that individual plan is and working with you to narrow that down so it works for that individual.
That's right.
I love that. Thank you for explaining that. So it's not just a one stop with a consultation. It's actually going to be more than one appointment, so you can really get to know the person as a whole.
Yeah, ultimately the goal is for us to have a relationship to continue to work through your retirement. That's what this should look like, because we're going to have things that are going to need to be revisited over and over again, like the Part D prescription drug plan. That could change from year to year. Obviously, your investment mix should be probably changing as you age as well. So there's going to be things that need to be revisited, and we should be having regular conversations.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
What about those folks that are still working that may take advantage of health savings accounts, HSAs? Can we spend some time talking about those?
Yeah, those are great accounts that you can put tax-free, tax-deferred dollars into them, and then when they're used, they're tax-free dollars. And so those now, if you're on Part A, if you're on Medicare age and you're taking Part A, you cannot contribute to HSA any longer. So you have to decide: do I file for Part A, or do I decline? Or decline Part A and then just continue with my HSA, or do I stop my HSA and go on to Part A? So those are decisions that we help you make along with that planning, but it's a huge decision. But
Most
those are great
definitely.
accounts.
Yeah, as those people that are working past their Medicare, they're age 65, then we need to talk about what the filing strategy is and timing-wise, what coverage you have at your current employer, what obligations you are to either go on Part A or defer that, as Kevin's referencing. And that impacts the HSA timing as to how you might be funding that. But way before that, if you're funding your HSA, that is a great strategy to try to defer some of those costs, to protect some of those costs later in life when you're going to need those for long-term care, for Medicare premiums, out-of-pocket expenses, all of these things. You're setting aside those funds to take care of them. Yeah.
I love that.
And really, one of the things that's overlooked, we're talking about insurance premiums and costs and all that kind of stuff, but just your overall lifestyle, taking care of yourself. So the staying active, eating healthy, doing these things on a regular basis that's going to help you stay healthier longer. This is something that's often overlooked.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we talk a little bit as well about life insurance and retirement planning, because so often people think of life insurance as only a death benefit. But talk a little bit about that in this segment.
Sure.
Yeah, life insurance needs may change as you get older. A lot of times folks will get life insurance to pay off a mortgage if one of them would pass away, or to create an estate for their children, to pay for college or whatever that may be. But as you approach retirement, those needs, of course, have changed. A lot of folks that are retiring, their mortgage is paid off. Their kids are out of college, and so their needs have changed. And so we need to evaluate that need for life insurance. We have clients come in. I had a client come in the other week that had like 6 or 8 policies, and she wanted to buy some more. And so we did some evaluation of it, and we actually decided to try to cancel a couple of those policies because she was overinsured.
Wow.
And so she just didn't know.
Right.
So she was trying to do what she could do and make the best of the situation. But it was very helpful to sit down with us, do the planning, and see what that looks like. And she was happy to cancel a couple of those and take away that expense
Of
that
course.
she has going forward. Yeah.
Yeah, like Kevin says a lot, is every dollar needs to have a purpose, right? And this includes your life insurance. So early on in life, we may be trying to create that large estate, and if something happened to us early, our loved ones are going to need a larger pool of money because there's going to be a larger time that they're going to continue on after us, unfortunately, right? As we get older, we've started to accumulate our own estate, and we've got investments, and we've paid down debt. Now, maybe you didn't pay down all the debt, and so maybe it makes sense to continue to have some of that life insurance. You may also have a really specific goal that you want to leave something to your individual children or loved ones. And so maybe there is a reason that you want to continue to fund that life insurance or buy life insurance for legacy planning purposes.
Yes.
And sometimes that's really important to some people, and sometimes that's not so important to some people.
Yep.
Each plan is specific to that individual.
Yeah.
Well, I know we have some viewers leaning in right now going, wait a minute, she said they're going to talk about estate planning, so we're going to save that for the final segment. I think it's a great time for a commercial break.
Sure.
To our viewers at home, there's a number to call on your screen. That number is 888-959-2743. You're being offered a complimentary retirement consultation, completely complimentary. Let Joe, Kevin, and Alvin get to know you, your goals, your dreams, and your wants for retirement. Let them design a roadmap that's going to get you through your whole retirement journey. You deserve it. You've worked your entire life to get here. You deserve to have the retirement of your dreams. Just call in to 888-959-2743. As I mentioned earlier, if you're curious about the prior episodes that are part of this 4-part series, you can go to the YouTube channel, First Choice Financial Services Incorporated, or simply visit the website, First Choice Financial Services Incorporated. Click on the QR code at the bottom corner of your screen. That's another way to get a hold of Kevin, Joe, and Alvin. We'll be right back talking about estate planning next, momentarily.
The work never seems to end until the day it finally does. After nearly a lifetime on the job, you should be rewarded for all the time you spent working. Whether that's crossing off items on your bucket list, learning a new passion, or rekindling the love of an old one. After all, life isn't over when you stop working. It's the start of an all-new chapter. The one where you're the writer and you get to choose how your story will go. A way to achieve that is by having a clear financial plan to sustain your golden years. The biggest fear most retirees have is if they'll have enough money to maintain the lifestyle they've always enjoyed. Having a plan to help protect you against the curveballs life often throws will help to maintain your lifestyle. Call today to get your free written financial plan so you may live every day to the fullest and enjoy the retirement of your dreams.
Welcome back to Mid-State Money Talk. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, joined today by Kevin Dietrich and Joe Dietrich, partners of First Choice Financial Services. And in this segment, we're going to talk about a very important subject, estate planning. Joe, I think a lot of people in the viewing audience today are leaning in and they're wondering, yes, I've worked so hard, I've accumulated this nest egg, and I'd like to pass it along to those I love when I'm gone. Talk about some tactics for estate planning, and I know we're going to talk about taxes too. We have a lot to uncover in this final segment.
There's a lot for the few moments that we have here.
Yes.
And we have prior episodes. If they go to the YouTube channel, if you go to the YouTube channel, there's an entire episode on estate planning. But real briefly, no matter what your accounts are, you can have an estate plan. Whether you're in the situation where the federal estate tax of exemption is $13.99 million in 2025. If that's your camp, then you're going to have some specific strategies you're going to look at, like gifting and charitable contributions and things like that. But if maybe you don't have that kind of money, but there's still some very practical things that we want to work through when we sit down. Things like making sure that our beneficiaries are listed on all of our accounts. Because really what we're talking about is who gets what, right?
Exactly.
And that's where we're going to go with that. So are the accounts have the named beneficiaries properly? What is going to go into the will and through probate, and what's going to go around it, right? Is there some gifting strategies, even if we don't have 14 or close to $14 million, that we can use to try to be strategic in inheritance tax that's unique to Pennsylvania? So there's some strategies that we want to talk about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And what about gifting? That's something that people like to think about as well. Sure. Can you use gifting as a form of saving on your taxes, if you will?
Absolutely, yes. So there's gifting you can receive. You can gift up to $19,000 as of 2025 without incurring gift tax.
Okay.
So that's very important if you want to leave money to your beneficiaries, to your children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews. You can do those. You can optimize that gift tax from $18,000 per person per year.
Per person. Yeah. And what about people that are questioning, do they need a trust? Can we talk about that, setting up trusts? Yeah.
So we're not attorneys,
right?
But we want to talk about what are the best strategies that you should be looking at and educating yourself on in your estate plan. And so obviously, some of these things are going to need to be talked through with your attorney.
Sure.
But having a will in place to make sure that what you want is going to happen. Having a trust could be very helpful, and you need to look at your individual situation, and if that's helpful, that trust can be established and funded. It can control with your direction what happens to your assets during your lifetime and after. So yeah.
Trusts are an option, but so is a will, and ancillary docs like your power of attorneys for medical and living wills, those types of things. So we always just look at that from a individual perspective. What's the best fit for them?
Yes.
Is a will fine for their situation, or do we need to look at a trust? And there are several types of trusts and lots of different types of trusts, and we don't really go into that. If there's a trust that we feel there's need there, then we'll refer them out to attorney that we work with. So estate planning can be overwhelming,
Yes.
but also could be simple. If you just look at the top basic things, we talk about this all the time, is that
Yeah.
folks are always concerned about estate planning, but it's actually simple if you just step back and look at it from the proper perspective, ask the right questions, and making sure that your beneficiaries are listed on your 401ks and your IRAs. You'd be surprised when we get into people's 401ks that they don't have beneficiaries listed.
Or they're not up to date.
Or they're not up to date.
Yeah, that's
they have
scary.
an
We
additional
talk about the
child,
will.
grandchildren, divorce, all kinds of different things. So
Yes.
there's some very practical things, and then there's some times where you might need to go and get some professional help.
Correct.
And overall, doesn't it provide incredible peace of mind, not only for the person that's designing, obviously, their estate plan, if you will, but also their loved ones? There's just peace of mind knowing that everything is taken care of.
It takes a
Absolutely.
huge burden off those that you're leaving behind and are going to be dealing with all of these accounts. And if you've already laid all of that out, it is much smoother process for them.
Absolutely. Well, Joe, you and Kevin have a very special offer to present to our viewers today. Let's talk about what that is before we close.
Yep. Yeah, so like we talked about earlier, we are offering a complimentary session, 2 sessions actually, to come and sit down and go over your individual retirement needs, to put together a customized retirement plan for you. We would love to talk to you. All you need to do is call the number on your screen, 888-959-2743, or pick up your phone and scan that QR code, and we'll be able to get you on our calendar.
And for you, Kevin, I want to ask you if there's anyone in the audience who's wondering, should I pick up the phone and call? What advice do you have to those folks today?
Let me think about that for a minute. Yes. Absolutely. I mean, what does it hurt to make a phone call, even if you're working with an advisor? And that's fine. I'm glad you're working with an advisor, working with somebody, but it doesn't hurt to get a second opinion. We tell
That's
folks
true.
all the time, if I got diagnosed with cancer and I have this one doctor telling me I have cancer, I'm going to go to another doctor and ask them, is this true? Right? Am I going to be okay?
It's true.
Because that's what people want to know. Am I going to be okay?
Absolutely.
And if they have a plan in place, they think they're going to be okay, let's make sure and get a second opinion.
Kevin, thank you so much.
welcome.
Joe, thank you so
you.
much. To our viewers at home, you heard it from Kevin and Joe. This is your opportunity. Get a second opinion. 888-959-2743, or you can click the QR code at the bottom corner of your screen. That'll take you right to the landing page of First Choice Financial Services. You can schedule your time accordingly. Thank you for spending time with us today. Be safe, be happy, and be blessed. We'll see you back next week. Take care now.